Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Dutch Dark Street Selling. This is a Raging Verbalist number 214 for those of you keeping track. Welcome if you're brand new. If you're an old timer, you've been here before, glad that you're back. This is going to be a very exciting and potentially profitable episode for those who are just starting this thing out. Raging Verbalist is every week on YouTube, also on the Facebook group, Position to Win Book Facebook group. Also, you can check us out there. So, with me, as always, to ask the tough questions, to make sure that all of those things get out on the table is the ever lovely Sandra. Sandra, welcome.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, considering what is this? You reminded me. She got up this morning and she looked out and she looked to the east and she saw in her mind's eye that this was February 2nd. So this is Groundhog Day.
That's right. Happy Groundhog's Day.
Happy Groundhog Day. And it's one of those that I think should be a national holiday. We should all get it off. We should have the big giant countdown, and all of that, so we can tell what our future will hold. So
Exactly. Why not?
So what are we talking about today? What are we talking about?
All right, so we are talking about your betting guide for the Super Bowl. So are you surprised at the nonstop advertising for sports betting on television?
Well, times sure have changed, because at one point in time, like when I was in Vegas, there was this whole thing that the NFL didn't even want to admit that anybody ever would bet on football. Nobody would even talk about that stuff. And then they started filtering here or there. And now we have all of these ads. My favorite part of the ad, though, is at the end where they put in the pity section. I don't know if you've watched them close enough. But I freeze frame it. And the pity section is all of this legal jargon that says, by the way, if you have a gambling problem, call this number. And I was thinking, there you go. I mean, wow, isn't that nice? Now that you've lost all your dough and the kids' college fund, call this number and say, oh, I think I have a gambling problem, but can you tell me who's going to win? That's the real question you want to ask. So yeah, I'm a little surprised. And they spend so much money. I mean, they're just going crazy. And then anybody who has anything to do with the game are just out there going nuts over this thing. And and then we have all the pregame shows. They're talking about the point spread and who's going to do what and what's a good parlay. And they've got somebody who's going to tell you that. Yikes! Yeah, I mean, it's wow. Who would have known?
That's right. So conspiracy theorists point to some of the results of the games as being rigged. So what's your take?
There's actually a YouTube, or probably several YouTube channels, where they painstakingly show mistakes that were made and things that were done and stuff that happened. And now that we have 94 cameras, I don't know if it's exactly that, we have 4K resolution, we can have stop action, we can do it frame by frame, all of these things. And, a penalty can change the course of the game. You have coaches doing wild and crazy things. So there's this whole sense of that. Now, the only reason why this becomes a big deal is that, well, if you're betting on the game, if you have your dough on there, it isn't geez, my team didn't do what I thought they were going to do, or, hey, this happened or that happened. But if you're watching the game and you need those points to make some bet work for you, you're convinced of that. And I had that experience early on. Super Bowl III, Joe Willie Namath, the New York Jets beat the mighty Baltimore Colts, and my father and his buddy were convinced. Of course, I'm the younger generation. Go, Joe, go. And my father was convinced that it was a mob fix from the beginning, because, how in the world did these guys win? Now, what I didn't know is I didn't know what the spread was, but I did know that I'm sure that the Jets won and they were the underdogs, so the bets paid off. But, I don't think that's, quite that amazing. So, yeah, there's a lot of talk about the game being rigged. I think it's hard to imagine that it is. You never know, right? There's always something.
And all the online apps have these enticing offers. So, what's your recommendation?
Well, my favorite one that just popped up, because of course they have that, DraftKings, and we're not sponsored. By the way, if you're out there at DraftKings, you want to sponsor us, we'll shill for you too. Yeah, wow, yeah, they're great. How can you lose? I mean, how can you lose? Having watched people do crazy things with betting. But DraftKings has a Super Bowl special that I saw online today. And Sandra, I want you to contain yourself. Wait until we're over with the show before you race off and do this. But if you bet just $5, they'll give you $200 in your betting bank that you can bet at will. So I sat there, and then it had an asterisk, and then I read this really, really tiny print. I mean, I was just sitting there going, wow. And the tiny print says, well, you get the $200 if you make the bet and you win your bet, then you get it. So really, it's a marketing gimmick to get you to give them your name and all of your information and your credit card or your bank account. So that way you're all set up and you're all good. And then you can win potentially $200. So that means you got to pick something, you got to make a bet, and then you have to win that bet to do that. And well, as I always like to say, it's better to book the bets than make the bets, because, well, the people on the other side usually get it wrong.
And have you ever seen this gimmick used before?
It is an age-old tradition. Vegas at one point in time offered that if you came in, these are the days when people didn't have direct deposits and all that. So you didn't even have to go to the bank to cash your payroll check. So if you lived in Vegas and you got there with your payroll check and it was a legitimate payroll check, they would cash the payroll check right at the casino cage. You'd sign it over to them, and they would give you your money plus a 50% bonus. Now, they paid you not in cash, but in chips. So think about it. Now you've got that 50% bonus. You walked in with $500 payroll check. You got $750 in chips. What could go wrong? Other than, I know how many people would call up and say to their, that almost, when I was there, 100% were men. And they would go and lose all this money, and then they'd have to explain that, well, we're not going to be able to pay the rent, not going to be able to pay, do those other things. So this is a tried and true method by which you can sucker people in. Money for nothing is not true. There is no free lunch. Somebody is always paying. Now that brings us to a way that maybe this isn't a sucker bet. This is a way to make things work for you, which is, I would highly recommend, of course, I am biased, but no more biased than saying that I will give me 5 and I'll give you 200. But what I would suggest that you do is you go pick up this book. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it's positioned to win. This is really true, because when people start a business, get a great idea, they're talking to their friends, they say, wow, I've got this fantastic idea for a business, and they get this confirmation bias. That means everybody tells you you're smart and you're good and you got all this other cool stuff. But it's going to take you a while before you really crap out. So go pick this up. You can go get it at our website, which is positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com, or you can get it from Barnes & Noble. You can get it from Amazon, Books A Million, and you can get a physical copy. If you get it from us directly, we will sign it, put on a nice little signature, and tell you some cool stuff. Also, you can get it digitally. You can get it from Kindle, Nook, and Apple iBooks. Also, if you find out that you didn't make a lot of money on your Super Bowl bets, or you want to actually have a better, more freer life, then go pick up this book, which is Remote Work for a Better World, and learn how to make your life better and do your work remotely in a more productive way. And then finally, what else do you need but a Raging Verbalist mug? So while you're yelling at the screen and you're sitting there saying, how could he miss that field goal, that extra point, because that will make all the difference, at least you'll have a Raging Verbalist mug ready and willing to support you. Sandra, what's next?
All right. So what are the most standard bets?
Well, the standard bets that people make is who's going to win and who's going to lose. And there are 58 bets that you could at Super Bowl 58. So there's 58 bets, but you can bet, who's going to win or lose. And right now, the San Francisco 49ers are favored. The spread changes, so just keep that in mind. For those of you who think that the bookmakers are picking the games by setting the point spread, the point spread is designed to even out the betting. They want as much money bet on both teams because then they make money in the middle because it doesn't matter who wins. So the simplest bet is that you would go bet either the 49ers to win or bet on the Kansas City Chiefs to win. Now, considering that the 49ers in their last 2 wins did not cover the spread, that doesn't make me happy, but the spread is much narrower between the Niners and the Chiefs. So that is like the first bet that you can do. That's a simple one. The other one, so if I was going to do that, and again, your money, you make your own decisions, is that you could bet the under, because there's this thing called the over and under. It's simple to understand, and it works out in most of life. So the over and under is how many aggregate points, that's total for those of you who are out there just learning how to do this, and you can go out there and you can say, okay, what is the over and under? The over and under right now is 47.5, and I would probably be betting on the under because these teams have not been scoring as much as they were otherwise, and that I would be thinking about betting on the under, and frankly, the Chiefs also hit under at the second highest rate in the NFL, which is almost 70%. So there you go. That's a good one. Number 3 is you can always bet on individuals. So we can look at like Christian McCaffrey, who is the running back for the 49ers. And the question is, will he be over 89.5 yards? He has been on a tear this year. It's been a record-setting year for his own personal side. So that might be a bet you might look at. Then we had to, the quarterbacks like Brock Purdy. Well, so will Brock Purdy be under 245 yards, 245.5 yards? By the way, books always put in a half point or a half distance on something, so that way it never can end even. So that's always interesting. And that's a potential one. Deebo Samuel will be the first person to score a touchdown. He's for the 49ers. How about Travis Kelce? How can we forget Travis? Because Travis, of course, on Chiefs, amazing tight end. Is he going to have over 6.5 receptions? That could be a bet for you. And then, of course, we have the Chiefs on the first drive, Niners on the touchdown on the first drive. These are touchdowns, and it goes on and on and on. But there you go. You've got some bets. You've got some things. Those are some standards. And we'll get into some more exotic, crazy ones in a second. But I can tell you that there are so many different ways to bet. It's not even funny. And if you're going to have a little bit of fun, usually the over and unders are easier to pick. And you hope it works. All I can tell you with the over and under is that Sean Payton, who is the head coach now of the Denver Broncos, broke my heart and cost me $100 because the guy in the fourth quarter needed 2 scores and didn't kick the field goal because he was trying to get to the touchdown. I didn't care if they won or lost. I needed the over. And if he had kicked the field goal, damn it, since it was very makeable, instead of going on 4th down, I would have gotten my money plus $100. So, all right. Yeah. Someday I'll be over that. But if I ever meet Sean Payton, I'm going to say, Sean, give me my $100, pal. I mean, kick the damn field goal. Okay.
All right. So what are some of the other bets people can make?
Well, there's a bunch of insane bets. And of course, right now there are 38 states that have legalized some form of sports betting. So we can always bet on the coin toss. We want to know what the coin toss is. It's going to be heads or tails. And we can always bet on that. So that's available for you. Why not? How about we can bet on the color of Reba McEntire's hair? No, actually, I guess it's going to be her hat. We're not doing her hair this year. We know her hair color is. What is it going to be the color of her hat? The length of the national anthem. This is a big one. Is it going to, and by the way, this year, it's 1 minute and 28 seconds. Is it going to be over or under? What do you think? There's a good kooky bet to have. How about screwing up the national anthem because you're singing in front of 100 million people? Maybe you do something stupid, you flub a line. There's that. Now, I don't know how we bet that. number 5 is, maybe Taylor Swift will be singing the national anthem. Maybe she'll race out of the stands, kick, body check Reba, knock her to the curb and just take over and start belting one out. We also can look at the halftime show. What will be the first words in Usher's halftime show? That's a bet you could be making. Maybe, hey, now this is one where we get a combination of things. I'm excited about this one. Will Usher perform a Taylor Swift song? Surprise, everybody, gas, I don't know. I mean, I'm holding my breath on that one now. Make sure that you put the nachos down. Remember, dropping that red stuff on that carpet, that salsa is going to stain it. Maybe you need to do kind of plastic wrap all over the thing. Now, there's always the question, this one didn't exist for a long time until there was what's called a halftime wardrobe malfunction. I don't know. I mean, we might have something crazy like that. Will there be any special guests that will show up, out there that will walk out on stage and be that surprise halftime guest? Now we get into the serious ones. Now we get into the stuff that really, really matters. This is what America is looking for. The whole world is looking for, is that will Taylor Swift get a proposal from Travis Kelce and become the it couple? Will they do a public proposal right there, standing at the 50-yard line? He goes down on one knee, confetti is flying, and that we are all relieved that they're going to get married. That could be an exciting one. But even more now, so that's one bet, but maybe you want to parlay it with the next one, which is that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce announced not only are they going to get married, but she's going to have a baby. She's knocked up by this dude, and it's, we're on our way to babydom. Wow, blowing my mind. All I can say is that's fantastic and amazing. Also, we have a fear of a blackout, and that we've had it once, could happen again, where all the lights go out. Now, it is Vegas. I mean, I don't even know how many times it's gone out in Vegas, because I think it's somebody will get shot if that happens. But you could bet on that one. There's a couple more that I'll share with you. You can also bet on, Bitcoin price in conjunction with the Super Bowl. And one of my favorites is, what will the color of the Gatorade be? I mean, I don't know how many times I've sat there and said, let's gather around the big screen and see what the color of the Gatorade that's going to be thrown on the winning coach and see what that's going to be like. And there you go. And then I'll pick out one last one, which is, let's talk about who is going to make the best MVP speech. There you go. There's some crazy bets. All I can say is do not bet the farm or other things on these. These are just for fun. But there you go. You've got some new stuff that you can bet on, and you can go do that.
All right. So is there a wild card in this year's Super Bowl?
Now, we've saved this one, and I have to have a disclaimer. We have to have a disclaimer. So this is a drinking game that I would propose, but I'm fearful of alcohol toxicity for all of you out there. So just keep this in mind, is that every time they show Taylor Swift, intro, outro, middle of their cheering, sad, happy, pregnant, not pregnant, whatever, whenever they show her, everybody's got to take a drink. My fear is that since they show her so often, that some of you, first off, don't drink and Taylor Swift. That's all I'm going to say, okay? So if you're going to do this, but that's my idea of a lot of fun. Let's do a drinking game, and away you go, and you can go and get blotto, and then you can say to your spouse, your boss, whoever you want to say it to, and say, listen, I didn't want to drink. Again, I've been sober for a long time. I didn't want to drink, but hey, for Taylor, you got to make some sacrifices.
All right. So what would be the least risky best bets to make?
Well, I got a couple. Number one is that if you have a favorite team, whichever one it is, 49ers or Chiefs, is you make a money bet, so that way you take the line out of the way. And yes, they give disproportionate payoffs because they build the line in that way. But make a money bet on your favorite team. The other one that I would bet on is I would probably look at the over and under on points, and it looks like If it holds to like the regular season, I would probably look at betting on the under. And if you wanted to have a little bit of fun, I would say, how about the coin toss? Let's face it, it's a 50-50 prop, and you decide which one it is. Get into that Zen space, get into that cone of silence, think about it, and divine the future and say, will it be heads? Will it be tails? Will I start off the game happy, or will I start off the game sad? I used to bet people on all of these kind of crazy things when I was in Vegas. Now, they didn't have to go very far because I was standing right there. We would bet, what is it going to be? What's going to happen? But I would say those are the three. Bet the money line on whoever you favor. Bet the under probably makes the most sense for me right now. And then just for a little bit of fun and to see. Now, I can tell you that if you start off the game on a losing bet, usually that means people could be a little grumpy. So maybe you want to have that Taylor Swift drinking game start off early. So with that, I'm going to say we're going to be talking about my talk about the Super Bowl next week. But this week, we just want to get you prepped. This way you can pull money out of trust accounts. You can, trade in some aluminum cans, give some blood if it's, to get a little bit of extra dough to get ready for your betting fun. But next week, we'll be talking about the Super Bowl. And until then, this is John Paul Mendex, Dr. Speed Selling. And for the ever lovely Sandra, have a great week, everybody. This is the Raging Verbalist, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.